Hi everyone, my name is Abhishek. In this video, I'll share with you some of my favorite Android Studio setup related tips. These have been collected over 3 years of working professionally at Gojek and on my own side projects. The goal with these is to make your work fast, immersive, and just make the developer more productive in general. Now, before we start, a big disclaimer. I solely use Mac OS for my development purposes, and it's not the best, but something I'm very used to and comfortable with at this point. If you're on a different platform, the points that I discuss might take some more work or steps to implement them. Alright, so now that we have our juice and I got my laptop to show you the setup, let's start. And the first thing I want to talk about is actually the theming. So I'll just move over to my computer here, and this might come as a surprise in the first thing itself, but I'm actually using the Xcode dark theme for Android Studio. Now the theme works really well with Kotlin, and you can see that it has colors for classes, inherited classes, and your variables, the constant values and stuff like that. So it works really well. Also, I've worked on a little bit of iOS myself and saw some other friends using it. Xcode has always looked so contrasting and comforting at the same time. I used to love the colors, so I decided to find this theme and really happy with it. Another thing that I used to really like is Dracula. So by default you get this theme called Dracula, which is like a cheapskate copy of Dracula. The original Dracula theme looks really good, and that's what I was using before this. Also recommend that one. So the second one that I wanted to talk about is the font. I always wanted my Android Studio to look, or any other text editor, to look really elegant and crisp. So if we go to editor settings, you can see that I'm using SF Mono, which is a font by Apple, and it's really comfortable. Never had any problem with it. Everything is clear. And just to show you more details, it's this exact one. They have a bunch of other fonts as well, but I'm using the SF Mono for my editor. Before this, I used to have this font. It's called Fera Code, and this is also really good. I just wanted something different, so I went to SF Mono, but really recommend this one as well. Recently, JetBrains also released their own font, but I'm actually not a huge fan of it. Everything looks very tall and squished down. It's a very condensed sort of font, so I personally don't like this one. SF Mono would be my top choice. Alright, third one. I want to quickly get the choice of terminal out of the way. So here, as you can see, I'm using Item 2 with Z Shell, which is a very popular combination for Mac users. And something I wanted to talk about with that is how cool the setup works. So it has tabs, it has split panes, which you can use. It even has reverse search, so you can look through whatever commands you have ran before, and just works really well. Along with this, I also use Terminal if I'm working on a big Android project. I also use Terminal to build the project itself. Generally, people just use this run app button in Studio, but for big projects, I use this because I've noticed that these are generally faster if I run a build here. Also, another thing I wanted to talk about, if you're running a big apps build on Android Studio and sometimes it freezes up and then you try to cancel it and it just goes to like not responding mode completely. So don't prefer that. On terminal it's very simple. It's even more verbose, so you get more details on the screen and you can just press Ctrl C to cancel it. It's super simple. Another point I would love to add to it is I also use the terminal for most of my Git related things. IntelliJ these days comes with fancy features for doing Git stuff, but I don't like to depend on it. I think every developer should be used to the raw way of doing things, and then you can use the special tools. So let's say we just make some random change here, and now we just quickly see what we did, and let's just try to check this in real quick. And so mostly I do all this stuff through terminal as well, and iTerm 2 has been amazing. Okay, the fourth one I'm going to talk about is tabs. I'm very passionate about this one, and this might come as a surprise as well, that from almost last 2 years I have completely disabled tabs from my Android Studio, and I'll tell you why. So now if we move over to the computer, you can see this is normally how things look in the IDE, that you're working on an activity and this is the tab, and then you're like, let's look at the XML, then you go here, and you're like, oh, I just wanted to check out that tab, and then you go here, and this is so slow and clunky way of doing it. The tabs just introduce clutter and take up space, and it's just wasting valuable seconds of my life at this point. So what I did was, you just go to editor tabs and set it to none, and forget about tabs if that was too much. So this is how I operate. I use keyboard shortcuts for almost everything. So if I have to open a new file, that would be Command Shift O, and then say you want to look for a layout, you can look for it this way. And if you want to jump to the last file that you're working on, just press Command E, and that's your last file. If you want to look at the list of the last files, you can again do Command E, and that is the list of the last files that you're looking at. So it's very easy this way, much faster this way, and this is the way I've been using my IntelliJ and Android Studio all the time from last 2 years. Highly recommended. Just to press a little bit more on that point, I'm recalling something from my Gojek bootcamp when I joined, and actually Sidhu, who was the ex-CTO, said something really important. I'll quote it here. So he said that anyone can be fast in a straight line in a race, but a champion always optimizes the speed in the corners, how to come out faster. And similarly, in our development work and culture, if you optimize for these things, right, say editing the code or navigating the UI, that overall go a long way to make you faster while working. And actually where I got this inspiration for not using tabs is a blog from Hadi Hariri. So if you search for it, yeah, this is the one. So in this one, he goes in complete detail on how to use IntelliJ without any tabs, and he discusses a lot more shortcuts than what I told you about. So yeah, if this convinces you to remove tabs from your IntelliJ or Android Studio, comment down below, let's have a discussion around it. Now we come to the last one, which is the fifth one, and this is also another one of my all-time favorites, and I really recommend this one to everyone working on a Mac and using Android Studio. So this is about the emulator and where it belongs, to be specific. So I started up an emulator here. This is what it looks like, and say you're just writing some code here and you're testing out your app on the emulator. Where did you go? Yeah, it's back. So it's a real pain, like you're editing your code here, but then you have to go back to the emulator to see it, then you come back. And to get over this, what generally people do is make your studio like a normal window, not a full screen app, and then you have emulator here. So you quickly write code here, look at your emulator. But I wanted to be able to look at my emulator all the time, right? Why do this switching again and again? So I enabled this option called emulator always on top, and now it will always be on top of whatever you're doing. So if you're writing some code here, you change something, you quickly run the app, and this will always be on top. But this is again problematic, because if you go to say an XML, now this is on top of the design that you're making, and if you put it here, you look at the design, so you just keep shuffling it around, which is not convenient at all. Some people would say that you can just resize Android Studio like this and just keep them side by side, but you can already see that how this is not very convenient. You can make the emulator smaller by pressing command down and put it here, and then make this bigger, and then after that when you want to look at the emulator, you make this smaller and then again make this bigger. It's just too much. It's too much. We just want a solution to this, and I'm happy to say I did find a solution to this. So what you do is, the first thing you need to do is go to your emulator settings in Android Studio and just click this launch in a tool window. This is very important for this to work. You apply, I'll close this emulator so it goes away, and I'll make it a full screen window again, my Android Studio. And after that, you go to device manager, you start the emulator, and you'll notice a change. Instead of starting like a floating window, the emulator now is a studio window itself instead of being separate. And now the magical thing that you can do is just pick it up, drag it to the top, dock it alongside Android Studio, and now look at this. How cool is this? So you can just make it smaller and Studio automatically takes up more space. You can expand the emulator whenever needed. If you are working on an XML, just make it smaller and everything resizes automatically. You just need to move that one handle instead of resizing this, then resizing that, going back and forth. Now it's just this one handle that you need to move. And this is probably the best option I have found till now. If you have a better solution, please let me know. And yeah, that's about this one.